Mary's I teacher. You saw more in me than I could see. You helped the struggle in me. You planted seeds still growing in me. You educated me. Thank you, my Mary's I teacher. Faith and courage. Thank you, my Mary's I teacher. You're a real one.
Hi, good day. My name is Frankie McGibbon from the class of 85 and host for today. It is great to be back again on the Mirror's Eye podcast series, reintroducing myself, and especially for today's very special Teachers Edition. We want to welcome our featured guest, Mr. Silbert O'Mealy, Ms. Lorraine Gillis, and Mr. Edwin Coleman. Welcome, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks much.
So we're looking forward to being reacquainted with you, my teachers. Let's start with you, Mr. O'Mealy.
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me to your podcast. There's been a significant number of years that we have not been able to touch base with each other.
Yes.
And let me say hi to Mr. Coleman and to Ms. Gillis, former colleagues. My name is Silbert O'Mealy, and I work at St. Mary's School from 1981 to 1985, and a second trans 1989 to 1990. Subject I taught was agricultural science. I'm married to a former teacher from St. Mary's School, Miss DeRisio. And I have 4 children and 8 grandchildren. And I hear Mr. Coleman grumbling that he hasn't had so much, but that's fine. But right now I am in New York.
Okay.
And I'm giving other persons the opportunity to introduce themselves. So when I come back, I'll dig deeper into where I'm at.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Ms. Gillis.
Hi, guys. Hi, Frankie, my former student, my former classmate,
Yes,
my
ma'am.
friend. Hello, former students, former colleagues, both here, Mr. Coleman and Mr. O'Mealy, as those who might come across this podcast in the future. It's really, really interesting and a privilege, a pleasure to be here, to connect, even though it's in the virtual world. Really love to see some persons physically. My name is Lorraine Gillis. I taught at St. Mary High School from 1984 to 1987. U Franklin was in my first exam group.
Yes.
After 1987, I left and worked in corporate. I went on to become a chartered accountant and has worked in corporate world since leaving there, but also I continue to lecture as an adjunct at different universities. I have one daughter. She's not in my world at all. She went to college to do theater, advertising, and public relations. Yeah.
Yes.
Subjects I taught were accounting, of course, and principles of business. Since leaving high school, St. Mary High School as a teacher. What is also important is that St. Mary High School is my alma mater.
Yes.
Yeah. So after leaving as a teacher, as I said earlier, went to work into corporate and become a chartered accountant, but I continue to lecture. For my hobbies outside of working 2 jobs, I play coordination sports, primarily squash, pickleball, some badminton. I love to swim also to keep the joints loose.
Yes.
And then I love to cook. So that's essentially my intro for now.
Thank you very much. Mr. Coleman.
Hello,
Hobby.
former colleagues and friends, former students, 1985 batch. Thank you for the invitation here. My name, Edwin Samuel Coleman, taught at St. Mary High from 1980 to 1988, first stint, and then 2003 to 2017. My first stint, I left and went to the subjects part, then mathematics, with the exception of 1 year of accounting. Manage Swift Purcell Boys Home, and from there, spent a short time there, and then went on to sell some insurance with First Life Insurance, and get back into Kingston at the university, finishing up an accounting and management degree. While at the university, social sciences, I taught at Prairie High School. Actually, I, took a job there while studying at the university. And then back after that in social work with the United Nations as a volunteer person, national volunteer, in serving in St. Mary, and then back into the high school after 2003, serving for the period 2003 and retired 2017. Of course, since then I've been doing a little teaching. Privately, I still do teach for the Women Center and do some kind of a private tuition as the demands allow. In my spare time, I do some farming, mainly backyard farming, and taking care of church business in general. And that's where I am.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's good that I'm able to see all you on screen, and thank you very much for that introduction. I've learned so much more than I knew already about you guys. So I'm gonna invite you all, starting again with you, Mr. O'Meally, then to Miss Gillis, and then to Mr. Coleman, just to share a favorite memory that you had at St. Mary High from the classroom life, classroom or school life, really.
I can give two.
Okay.
I met a student, which I'll remain nameless,
Okay.
who was preparing for GCO levels. Very bright student, but had a challenge with writing. And so I made him my first project at St. Mary School. Corrected his work, red ink, more red ink. And when he became one of the best student passes at St. Mary High School. And that made me very proud. Let me just back up a little bit, because St. Mary High School was my first job. I started teaching at St. Mary High School before I was 21 years old. And I did an interview, and I was really impressed with Mr. Cargill, who I met at the interview. And that is what really pulled me to St. Mary School.
Very nice. Thank you very much, sir. Miss Gillis.
Yes. Okay. For me, there are a lot of pleasant memories. It was really, really hard to choose. Yeah.
Okay.
But the one that I have to go with was that, like Mr. O'Meally, I started teaching high school at age 21. Fresh out of St. Mary High School, went to University of Technology, came back to my alma mater. So I was very apprehensive whether it was a job that I could really manage. Will these students learn from me? Yeah. As a past student, I remember one of the early days there was this young man who said, we shouldn't have to call her miss. She just left the other day and came back as a teacher. And I was like, you don't have to call me miss, and you don't have to learn either. So I was like, no, Lorraine, you can't say that. You are not a student anymore. You can't respond like that. You have to wear a different hat now. So, but that's one of the instances. But the most rewarding one for me was that as a young teacher, and the uncertainties, like you're growing with your students, my very first there I was given grade 10 business as my class. I was form teacher. I was like, what do I do with these young girls, primary girls? What did all these young ladies and they are so into themselves? Are they really going to learn? But we did really, really well. We were like friends and we did well. And interestingly, when the CXC results came out, I was nervous. I was sick to my stomach. I was teaching a lot of accounting classes. I had like 4 groups teaching accounting, introducing the subject to them for the very first time. I was like, can I really do this, or am I going to blight these students' prospect? But when the results came out and I went up to Miss Clayton's office to look at the result, I was in awe of myself. We had 96% passes in
What?
grade 1s and 2s. So I was like,
Congrats.
yes, I was really, really happy for my students and also for myself.
Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, that's something to celebrate. Thank you. Mr. Coleman, you should have a lot of
Yes, we
memories.
came to,
Yes.
we came as a young couple, my wife and I, Beverly, came
Yes.
from Happy Grove after teaching there for a year. She been we very early 20s, and we came quite young and somewhat inexperienced. I've only taught 2 years before, but I had some very close friends, and I could call some names of students who came to be good friends of ours, and I never knew that they had observed that Miss Coleman was pregnant, and they have been very carefully watching. And this set of girls seem to be timing when the time would come, and I noticed they have volunteering to take home my books, to take home my homework books. They must. I could call one name. First name starts with G, with J, and the second with R. And he would take his crew, and they would volunteer to accompany me home, with books. And then on one occasion they were there. Baby was our first child, was um, on board February, and Jean her name. But she came and with her crew, one very short from St. Thomas, and the 2 very tall, and one of those person died unfortunately, and
Yeah.
and the leader says, I want to take some milk for you, and Miss Coleman respond, we do not have a fridge yet. We have just starting home. We are, just getting. So you don't have a fridge? A teacher don't have a fridge? And she was very, very upset that she couldn't take what she wanted for the baby because, But I had some very, very, good teaching experience. A lot of anecdotes I could say here, but
I appreciate that. Thank you. So now as we reflect on your time at St. Mary, I'm going to ask each of you the same question and allow each person to respond before moving on to the next person. So your first question, Mr. O'Mealy, is what 3 words best describe your time at St. Mary High in the 1980s?
3 words. I could use 2: great experience. St. Mary School, which was my first job, gave me an opportunity to interface with students and to share my experience through the knowledge that I gained, and to really help some persons to turn their lives around, to change from who they were. Because I found that I was able to have conversation with students that made students rethink what they were doing, refocus, re-engage in their own life, and to move forward. I found that students were very responsive, and I took my job very, very seriously, because I thought that when you are given a life to mold, it's important that you mold it well. Significantly, too, I found myself being what you'll call a social teacher. So I visited homes.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yes. I visited communities. So I knew where a lot of the students were from. I knew the challenges that they had. And so I was able to really help them to get through some of the issues that they had. That was
Appreciate
my
that.
experience at seminary school.
Thank you. That's great.
Interactive.
Miss Gillis,
Yes, sir.
what 3 words?
For me, the first one is apprehension.
Okay.
I was very, very apprehensive as to whether or not I could do that job. Was I able to impart enough or impact these young's lives sufficiently to guide them into the future? The next one is growth. It was a lot of growth for me over those 3 years. I moved from just being not caring much about what's next to really not caring only about what I do, how I do it, how I am viewed, but also making sure that these students, especially those who I was entrusted as their form teacher to guide, to making sure that they had a vision for their lives and that they took their academic work seriously. And then the next one was that it was a happy and free time.
Okay.
As a young teacher, we were free and we were happy and we were fun. It was a fun-filled period, not like life is pretty much now.
Yes. Thank you very much, Miss Gibbs. Mr. Coleman, what 3 words best describe that era for you?
Well, my period there at that time gave me the golden opportunity to be relating to issues and children that have had very similar experience to mine. Growing up in Clarendon, the quality, especially in the rural areas, and those children were, and in that time, in the 1980s, mid 1980s, the big concern was the a large quantity of children who were not able to access quality programs, and because there were not enough high schools, and and there was that great amount of disparity between the children who never had an opportunity to get there. And St. Mary's School at that time had this facility where some persons call it a second chance opportunity. And I had worked with a number of these children, and it was a golden opportunity for me to help them to utilize and maximize that opportunity to get into a high school and really show their true potential.
So my second question to you, Mr. O'Mealy, is what drew you to teaching at St. Mary High in that season? Was it like a deliberate choice, or was it just like circumstances that brought you there?
Let me give you a backdrop.
Yes.
I'm from a huge family.
Okay.
A huge family of quite a number of them are educators. I came to St. Mary's School because I needed to input in persons' lives so that their lives could have been changed. I share this with you, go back a little deeper. I never did common entrance. Somebody got me into a high school.
Okay.
And it is, we call it forward payment. So teaching for me was forward payment into people's lives.
Yes.
So that people could get better out of where they were from. Like I said to you, I visited homes, I visited communities, and I saw where people were coming from. And education was the real area, the real avenue for them to get out. So St. Mary's School for me was a pivotal place to be able to help person to, one, anchor themselves, two, better themselves, and become better citizens where they were. That is what drew me there.
Thank you. Ms. Gillis.
Yes, sir. For me, it was a bit of being deliberate and just being something that happened. I went to UTech and did the business education program, the 3-year diploma in business education. So after that, you typically go into teaching because that's what you're trained to do. And as I said earlier, it was just a happy and free time for me. So after UTech and that summer, I just didn't look for work. I was just being happy and free. And then close to the start of the school year, I was like, oh, I need to look for a job. And then incidentally, I just saw an advertisement in the newspaper, in the Gleaner, as it was then, that St. Mary's School was looking for a business teacher. Lots of other schools were looking for teachers. There was, a great demand for business teacher too. And then I just decided, well, where best to give back than my alma mater? So there it was. I went for the interview, was recruited the same day, and started a week or so later.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Mr. Coleman.
Actually, I left home, Clarendon College, really, then went to Mandeville, and I went way into Hector's River, Happy Go, teach for a year.
Yes.
Went back down home, got married, and went back to Happy Grove for the rest of the year. At the end of the year, we said, this is not the place. It's a very beautiful place for honeymoon, but maybe it is time for us to get to somewhere where we can see a little more light. So when Alan came in August of that 1980, and I had made an application from Clarendon during the storm to Mr. Cargill, and not knowing the principal, I just wrote it to the principal, and a response came. And while I was there in June, July, the out of school with another team from Happy Grove, but the St. Mary's School cricket team came to play, and I heard that people saying that there was a man here asking for the boy from Clarendon College, an Indian man. I said, who was that? He said there was a coach for the cricket team. It seemed like it was Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson then was a senior teacher and maybe a coach. And Mr. Cargill had asked if he would interview this man from his school down there as well. He didn't find me, but then I got the invitation letter to come, and I came. And it was, the Craiglin opportunity for myself. There could be no better principal at that time than Mr. Cargill. Saw a young couple came in, he called up a gentleman who was in the community. He used to be the man who invigilate all the CXC exams, Mr. Morris, and he says, I wanted to help me to take care of this young couple. And we got a flat.
Very nice.
And it wasn't much there, and that is where my student came and chastised us for not having a fridge. And it was like, the first year. And so we were well taken care of as two young persons in our early 20s trying to make life. And maybe Mr. Cargill note that there was a little pregnancy for the first child. And I tell you, St. Mary's School had been like, with those staff members and the principal, Mr. Cargill, definitely had provided that home away from home at that stage in our life, that early stage when we needed that kind of a support the most. He made sure that where we lived was safe and in the hand of a very stern disciplinarian.
That's cool. Thank you very much.
Mr. Cargill was a special one.
Yes, indeed.
I was a student under his regime.
Yes.
He was special. He was indeed very, very special.
So tell us about, Mr. O'Meara, tell us about the students of the 1980s. What set that generation apart? Their drive, their challenge, their character. What was it like for them outside the classroom? What did you see of us?
Thanks for the question.
Yes.
I found that the students of the 80s had a drive to succeed. They were driven to succeed. They wanted to arrive. They were hungry for information. They were also disciplined. So you find that they were able to carry the discipline with them along the. It was not difficult for me as a young teacher who had just started growing beard, which I never cut because I wanted them to see the difference between themselves and I.
Yes.
But they were disciplined, and you were able to talk with them, and they were responsive. Might I add that I've also engaged in teaching subsequent to leaving St. Mary's School, but that is for another show. But when
Okay.
when it is not parallel to what happened in the 80s. The 80s had students who were somewhere and they were looking someplace to go, and they recognized that education was a key function to get to where they wanted to go.
Yes.
And so they were very responsive.
Ms. Gillis, what about you? What did you see?
As I said, I still continue to be in education. And when I compare what the input is now to what it was then, miles apart, light years apart. I find that the students then, they were ambitious. If you speak to every student, then they will tell you what they want to be. Most 90%. How they had a roadmap, how to get there. Compared to now, a lot of them are just there because their parents send them, and they figure, especially since the COVID, they just figure that we can just start a business and make a lot of money. That they are not focused on having a solid foundation. I think I'm also coming out of the same environment that I taught in. I mean, middle class, lower class for some extent. We were taught that the way to get ahead was education.
Yeah, that's true.
And the students that I taught saw it my way, that you have to do well in school to get out of here, to make better than your parents did. And they took it seriously. So my students in the 80s took personal responsibility for their academic excellence. Now what I find compared to then is that they expect you to make them do well. You have to fight with them for them to do well. As against then when they were haunting you for this. They would come to you at your little. Some of my students knew when I didn't have class because they wanted to come to me with that question that they didn't understand. There were students that I didn't teach that would figure out when they can meet me somewhere to ask me an accounting question because they wanted to do well. Now you'll have students who don't even remember what the assignment was.
Everybody eyes, if they didn't get to St. Mary High or someplace. And when they got there, the expectation that was on their head from their community and from their own was very, very, very high. And so they were, that they were under pressure. And the extracurricular activities then on all those areas, you could find that many of them, you'll find great students, not maybe in the classroom before you, not very good at exam. They may know it, but they are not able to meet the expectations of exam. And many of them come to you, not sometimes as a teacher, but just to be a person who wants to say, yes, I have some worth, even though I didn't pass the exam. I have some very, very good friends, students who didn't do very well on maths, and recognizing this from them, I wound up become a radio in my subject. But yes, we remain good friends, very good friends, even though we were far apart in terms of my vision for her and the role that my subject could play for her career. And so the bulk of those students are those who were socialized that if you don't pass for you, and that again kind of characterize those students who get from that era to be very, very special people that I
appreciate
value.
that. Thank you very much, Mr. Coleman. Appreciate that. So, Mr. Mealy, who was a colleague, like a fellow teacher or administrator, who positively impacted you and your role as an educator?
Mr. E.U. Cargill, Edgar Uriah Cargill,
Yes.
was very significant. He was a father figure.
Yes.
He was somebody I could sit with and have a conversation about any matter. So he became a resource person for me and a person who helped to stabilize me at St. Mary High School. So to be fair with you, I tip my hat, even though I don't have one on now, to Mr. Cargill. He was the person who really helped me through the processes at St. Mary High School. So yes, there are other colleagues there, but this is the one that I pick out of the group.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gillis.
Um, Outside of St. Mary High School, my mom was also a teacher.
Yes.
So that kind of framed my mindset as to how you go about doing this thing, making sure you are prepared for classes, making sure after the classes you still have stuff to do and all of that. So that kind of gave me an intro into what an educator should be. Also, but within St. Mary High School, there were Mrs. Bedward.
Yes.
She My sister was in sixth form when I was in first form, and she taught my sister accounting.
Okay.
There was also Miss Riley and Miss Jangeli. They were peers of my sister in high school. They were classmates, and they taught me in high school. So there were
Okay.
these people up there that you're just there. Mrs. Bedward, who was amongst the first students of the school, who came back
Yes.
and was teaching there forever. And there were
Yeah.
these two other ladies who were my sister's classmate in sixth form when I was in first form. So you can't follow up when these people are around. You just can't. You have an image, you have a family name to protect, you have reputation to protect. So those within St. Mary, those were the persons within St. Mary School that really served as a guiding light for me, because I'm always trying to get their approval. Don't do anything that they would be disappointed in you. And also, my mom was a teacher, so I kind of took a lot of how she approached it into my career.
Very nice. Thank you. Mr. Coleman.
Okay. Well, a vice principal to start in administration, Margaret Churchill.
Ouch.
She was also quiet, um, but powerful influencers for myself. She being a Quaker as myself, related to the church, and to a large extent, those social testimonies that peace, um, integrity, a sense of community, and equality and stewardship. When you take that broad perspective on life in the education system, you see, can find that of God in every student, regardless of what he may be doing, or even in punishment, search and find it and work with it. I've mentioned Mr. Cargill's role in our initial,
Yes, yes.
planting in the area, and that too was of a great influence to us.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. This is our final question for this section, and it is, Mr. Mealy, can you recall a special moment with a student or class that made you feel like all your sacrifices was worth it?
I had a set of students in 9A, 10A, 11A. That was the group that had the three Michaels.
Okay.
And these students were students who we sat down, we look at where they want to go, Matter of fact, back in the day, you really didn't have a guidance counselor per se. So you were the guidance counselor for these students. And we sat down, we look at what were the opportunities, what were the areas. And these were the things that really helped me personally, help those students to achieve. And when they did their exam and the results came back, I was on top of the cloud. Because it said to me that what I had imparted was well accepted, transferred, and the results were shown in exam. So there's a group, the 9A2, the 10A2, and 11A2. That group for me was the group. And I'm not going to call a specific name, but the group itself.
Yes.
That was a significant group.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Immediate return on investment. I appreciate that. Miss Gillis, same question.
Yeah, but I mentioned earlier about my 10B group.
Yeah.
When I was their form teacher, they wanted, we grew together. We look forward to our Christmas party because we were good at that. Yeah. I rewarded them well with their annual Christmas party. But one thing about it, there were 6 boys and the rest were girls. So all the guys wanted to be at this Christmas party. I was like, no, they're not allowed. Anyway, yeah. But coming through the 2 years, again, I mentioned my apprehension as to whether I could mold them sufficiently, whether I could impart the knowledge enough for them to retain and, of course, live up to the expectations of exams. And they really delivered for me. So that group, I when you sent this podcast information, I sat there and I probably remember 80% of those students.
Wow.
Including your sister. Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, and they were so impactful on my career, and they have gone on to do great things. There are a couple of students there that can single out one female. There was this young lady, Sharon Thompson. She wasn't a hype girl. She wasn't a popular girl. She was quietly very smart. I remember the first time I had principles of business with them, and I mentioned about communism and asked if anybody knew any country that practiced communism. I expected everybody to say Cuba, which most of them did. She told me about Red China.
Okay.
I was like, where do you come from? What do you know about not just China, Red China? I was like, okay, you're gonna make me have to really prepare for these classes, yeah. And then I think a lot of us know the history of this and see it being played out. There was Floyd Morris, Dr. Senator Floyd Morris.
Yes.
Yes, he was in that group and he lost his vision in grade 11. He's a bright young man as we can see it playing out. He lost his vision, dropped out of school, almost fell by the wayside, picked up himself, pulled up his pants, did whatever he had to do. I mean, so he's my good friend now, like you are. We communicate a lot. We are friends. I'm very happy, very proud to see that he has pulled himself together, making waves, doing a lot in the disability community. And I'm happy that he was part of St. Mary's School and we can claim his legacy.
Thank you very much. Mr. Coleman.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Yes, I didn't mention those lobbies that we had made for students that we have spotted that light of potential from an early stage before anyone else could. We were able to do it in the maths department, and some science persons could have agreed with us that these boys, even though they were given really the last second chance to be here, but they were beginning to bloom, and we lobbied for them, and they were able to do that general exam. Did very well on it. Very well. And there's that one who I met him at one occasion, and not wanting to call his name, but he was a prominent person in the computer field at NCB at one point, I heard. And then somebody told me that his name is being called against that computer donation at St. Mary's School. Makes you feel good.
Yes,
A second one was one that I thought here, I think in a very similar matter, came and maybe for a short time. And when I went to social science at UWI, there was a course, marketing strategy. Lo and behold, my student was teaching me. I said, well, I had a role. Here it comes right back. And that was in the 1990s. I said, it comes right back. He's now a very prominent citizen in Jamaica, heading a very prominent educational institution. It makes you feel, that seed sown somewhere continue to grow. And there are many other instances.
I appreciate that. So now we're into our lightning round. This I'm going to ask you a series of questions before I move to the next person. It's meant to be light and fun. Just answer the first thing that comes to mind. And usually that's actually the truthful thing that comes to mind. Let's start with you, Mr. O'Mealy. Grading homework, satisfying ritual, late night struggle, or I made the student exchange homework books and grade each other.
Satisfying ritual.
Staff meetings at St. Mary High School, productive gathering, necessary endurance, or something you politely survived.
Productive gathering.
All right. Your classroom, quiet and disciplined, organized chaos, or students give a lot of trouble.
Quiet and disciplined.
What type of teacher you were? Disciplinarian, fun teacher, or the nurturer?
I was a nurturer, but by the way, I could say I'm an eclectic teacher.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a bit of each.
But which one would you say comes out on top?
Nurturing.
Nurturing. All right. School sports day, enthusiastic participant, sideline observer, or busy house organizer?
Participant.
Oh, you're an enthusiastic participant.
Yes,
what
sir.
house were you in? You remember?
It's the name of the greenhouse again.
White Horn.
White Horn. Okay. All right. Coming to you now. Thank you very much, Mr. O'Mealy. Come to you now, Ms. Gillis.
Okay.
Grading homeworks, satisfying ritual, late night struggle, or I made the student exchange homework books and grade each other.
Late night struggle.
Late night struggle. All right. Staff meetings at St. Mary High, productive gathering, necessary endurance, or something you politely survived.
Necessary gathering, then.
Okay.
If I look back, I would say productive.
Okay. Classroom. Your classroom. Quiet and disciplined, organized chaos, or students give a lot of trouble.
Disciplined.
Okay. The type of teacher you are. Disciplinarian, fun teacher, or the nurturer?
Fun.
You're the fun teacher. Okay. School sports day, enthusiastic participant, sideline observer, or busy house organizer?
Sideline observer.
Okay. And which house were you in?
Henry then and Henry then. Henry as a student, Henry as a teacher.
Oh, nice. Mr. Coleman, coming to you now. First question. Grading homework, satisfying ritual, late night struggle, or I made the student exchange homework books and grade each other?
Satisfying.
Satisfying ritual. Okay.
Yeah, I would say satisfying.
Okay. Staff meetings at St. Mary High, productive gathering, necessary endurance, or something you politely survived?
So necessary endurance.
Okay. Your classroom, quiet and disciplined, organized chaos, or students give a lot of trouble?
I would say students give well. It's
you can say it, man.
Yeah, the organizers between it's in between there.
All right, so organized
I can't
chaos.
say
All
it is
right.
organized.
The type of teacher you were, disciplinarian, fun teacher, or nurturer?
I would say nurturing.
Nurture. All right. School sports day. Enthusiastic participant, sideline observer, or busy house organizer?
As a sideline observer.
Okay. And you remember what house you were in?
Stanley.
Stanley. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We have arrived at what we call our closing reflections or closing talk. This is really an opportunity for you to speak directly to the men and women who sat in your classes many years ago. They are now scattered all over the world and will be watching this podcast. They remember your name and they still carry some of what you gave them from all those years ago. What would you like to say to them about your time together, about your hopes for them, and about St. Mary High that you both share? We're going to go back and start with Mr. O'Mealy.
Thanks for the reflective question. It was great having served you and having been a part of your life. I really appreciated the time I spent with you in the classroom, and I really am glad that I've seen a lot of fruit coming from the time I spent with you. My hope is that you will also deposit in people's lives because that matter. When we have a generation that deposit in people's lives, over time, our generation becomes better. And I wish for you all the best. And since we are almost at the same age, and I said we are almost at the same age, I want you to deposit in your children and in your grandchildren's lives so that they can become great citizens. And I thank you for inviting me on this podcast.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Gillis.
Yes, sir.
You're
Yeah,
fine.
when we spoke and you reminded me of how many decades have passed, I was shook. Yeah,
Yes,
I can't
yes.
believe. Yeah. So it's hard to think about how many years have passed, how many decades is what we're going to count it as. So the number seems small. But yeah, it's interesting that I remember so many of you individually as I speak to you online now. So many of you have done great things and continue to do great things and continue to impact others, your families, the lives of others you have touched. Um, Hope I have molded and created positive impact in your lives and have helped you to be better citizens of our country and of this world. Um, I want to say, keep the flag flying high, keep the St. Mary High School flag flying high, and keep Jamaica flag flying high as you traverse the wider world.
Thank you very much. Mr. Coleman. Thank you, Ms. Gillis.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Yes, student, I am feeling very privileged to have that experience with you. It's like we've been trailblazer going through, removing obstacles in our path. We had very similar experiences. We came there about the same time, St. Mary High, and we had a beautiful journey with a lot of mutual learning experiences. I appreciate all the lessons that I have learned. You were the one who had, more than you think, helped even to grow my three children. The last one was born when you were graduating, and I remember that. And you have helped us. So we know that you have taught us even more than we have. We do not know who taught who the most, but we feel very privileged to have you all on our journey to our present life stages as we are differently. We feel very proud. I speaking of myself, and I speak of my wife too. We both share this journey.
Yes.
When we hear our CEO and your achievement and life path, spices. S for simplicity, remain simple. P for peace in the midst of all these wars and conflicts and violence. Find the means to be peaceful. Integrity, be kind and gentle, and remember your character is very, very, that's the only thing that will remain after you. A sense of community. Search for that of God in everyone around you. Search, it is there, even though many can't find it. But the knowledge of just knowing it is there will help you to find it and work with it. Equality. Remember that we are all equal under God, having that of Him in each of us. And a sense of stewardship. A sense of stewardship. Help the Creator to take care of the environment in all its means. Preserve, be a good steward wherever you are. Take care of God's creation. And we know that that will be a very useful help along life's journey. Congratulations on the many achievements I've heard of.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coleman. It was really a pleasure having you guys. I know many of your students, especially from the 1980s, are overjoyed and happy that you took the time out to just to share your experience with us. We were children then. I mean, now hearing your experience from an adult person, us being adults now, even makes it even more special because we can empathize, we can understand even more, what you're going through. But just glancing back over the 40 years is really a privilege. I mean, some of us have gone ahead already, but you teachers really did us proud. Many of us confess that some of these were the best years, best 5 years of our lives, that. So thank you not just for educating us, but for sometimes feeding us and clothing us and pulling us up when we were down. So on behalf of all your past students from St. Mary High, 85ers, and every student whose lives you touched, we want to say thank you, teachers. God bless you, and have a good night.
You're welcome, and God bless you too.
You're welcome, Frank. Sorry.
Thank you again.